Claire Matthews and Daniel Green looked like the perfect couple to everyone around them. She was the kind nurse adored by neighbors, and he was the hard-working man who never made enemies. But when Daniel vanished without a trace, investigators uncovered a secret hidden inside his phone, a secret that revealed a chilling side of Claire no one had ever imagined. Claire Matthews blended so seamlessly into her quiet suburban neighborhood that no one ever thought twice about her. She was the type of neighbor people felt lucky to have, polite, considerate, and always willing to lend a hand. On summer evenings, she could be spotted in her garden, trimming the roses or watering the small patch of vegetables she grew with care. Passers-by would often stop to chat, and Claire always greeted them with a warm smile. She had lived in the same modest house for years, and in that time, she had built a reputation as someone dependable and trustworthy. Her job only reinforced that image. As a nurse at the local hospital, she was admired by patients and colleagues alike. Her coworkers described her as hardworking and compassionate, someone who would stay late to comfort a frightened patient or cover a shift without complaint. Families remembered her kindness long after being discharged. To the outside world, she embodied selflessness, a woman whose life was centered around helping others. It seemed impossible to imagine her harboring anything sinister. She also appeared to have a stable and loving relationship with her boyfriend, Daniel Green. They had been together for nearly 3 years, and neighbors often saw them leaving for weekend trips or returning from grocery runs, laughing together like any other couple. Claire spoke about him often, describing him as her future. She hinted at marriage, a house filled with children, and a long life side by side. Nobody doubted that vision. Why would they? In every way that mattered, Claire was the perfect neighbor, the perfect girlfriend, the perfect nurse. She was the type of person people pointed to as an example of goodness. And that made it all the more unthinkable when the truth about her came to light. Daniel Green's disappearance started quietly, almost like an oversight that would soon be corrected. At first, his family assumed he was busy with work or had taken an unannounced trip, something unusual but not alarming. But as the hours turned into days, concern grew. Daniel was reliable, punctual, and deeply committed to his job at a local construction firm. He wasn't the type of man who missed work without notice, and he never ignored calls from his mother. When she couldn't reach him after 3 full days, she reported him missing. Police quickly located his car, abandoned near a wooded park just outside town. The vehicle was locked, but inside were Daniel's phone charger, his work boots, and a half-finished bottle of water. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no indication that anything violent had happened there. Yet the placement of the car raised questions. Daniel didn't live near the park, nor did he have a reason to be there late at night, which was the last time his phone had pinged on local towers. The case caught the attention of the town almost immediately. Flyers with Daniel's picture were posted on telephone poles, in diners, and along shop windows. Volunteers formed search parties that combed through the park trails and surrounding areas. News outlets covered the story, painting Daniel as a hard-working man who had vanished without explanation. Through all of it, Claire Matthews emerged as a central figure. She stood before cameras pleading for information, her voice breaking as she begged for his safe return. She joined every search, sometimes taking the lead, pointing out areas she thought should be looked at more closely. To anyone watching, she was the grieving girlfriend desperate for answers. No one imagined she might already know them. As the investigation stretched into weeks, Daniel's disappearance shifted from a mystery into something far more unsettling. Detectives began piecing together the fragments of his final days, and details that once seemed minor began to raise eyebrows. His text messages, usually filled with long updates or affectionate notes, had suddenly grown uncharacteristically short. The last few messages sent from his phone were simple phrases like, "I'm fine," or "Don't worry," nothing like his usual tone. To his friends, it felt as if someone else had written them. Those same friends revealed something else. Daniel had confided that he was thinking about ending his relationship with Claire. He felt trapped, they said, describing how she had become increasingly controlling and possessive. Daniel hadn't yet told her his decision, perhaps fearing how she might react, but the thought weighed heavily on him. For investigators, this detail was important. A breakup often brought tension, and in some cases, danger. Still, nothing directly tied Claire to his disappearance, and many people brushed off the possibility. At the same time, surveillance footage uncovered a strange clue. A gas station camera showed Daniel's car being driven late at night, well after the time his phone had gone dark. The driver wore a baseball cap pulled low, making it difficult to identify the face. But what unsettled investigators was that the driver's build didn't seem to match Daniel's. It was taller, leaner, and carried itself differently. These findings cast doubt on the neat, grieving image of Claire. Yet, she continued to present herself as cooperative and heartbroken, sitting down for interviews and thanking police for their efforts. Her composure disarmed many, convincing them she couldn't possibly be hiding anything. What no one knew was that her mask of sorrow was beginning to crack. When detectives obtained access to Daniel's phone, they didn't expect much. Most missing person cases revealed little through digital evidence beyond call logs and casual conversations. At first, this seemed no different. His messages showed routine exchanges with friends, work reminders, and short replies to family. His photo gallery was filled with everyday snapshots, meals, outings, and pictures of his car. Nothing stood out as unusual. But as investigators dug deeper, they found a hidden folder tucked away under an unassuming name, Memories. Inside were dozens of videos. At first glance, they appeared harmless, capturing moments between Daniel and Claire over the past year. Birthdays, picnics, evenings at home. They looked like the recordings of a couple in love. Yet one video, dated just weeks before Daniel went missing, immediately unsettled the detectives. It showed Daniel sitting at his kitchen table. His posture was tense, his eyes darting to the side as if measuring every word. Across from him, Claire sat calmly, staring into the camera with a faint smile. While Daniel muttered something inaudible, her expression didn't change. It was the smile of someone who already knew the outcome of an argument. The further they scrolled, the more disturbing the tone became. Claire often held the camera herself, recording Daniel when he wasn't aware. In one clip, he looked uncomfortable, asking her to turn it off. In another, she lingered on his face as he tried to avoid her gaze. None of the recordings showed physical harm, but the atmosphere was suffocating. The discovery reframed the case. What once seemed like a tragic disappearance now hinted at something far darker. These videos weren't casual keepsakes. They were evidence of a relationship spiraling into obsession, with Claire carefully documenting the moments leading up to Daniel's final days. The more detectives explored the videos on Daniel's phone, the more the story they revealed turned chilling. What had started as affectionate recordings had shifted into something disturbing, almost theatrical. Claire appeared in several clips alone, speaking directly into the camera as though addressing an unseen audience. Her words were vague but unsettling, hinting at control and permanence. She often spoke about loyalty and how she could not tolerate betrayal. Each time, her voice was steady, unnervingly calm, as if she had rehearsed what she wanted to say. One video in particular froze investigators in place. It showed Claire standing in Daniel's kitchen, the camera propped on the counter. She held a large kitchen knife in her hand, turning it slowly in the light. Her expression wasn't angry, it was almost serene. She spoke softly, saying she hoped Daniel would never think about leaving. Her smile at the end of the clip was so deliberate, so unnerving, that the detectives watching it later described feeling an immediate chill. Other recordings showed subtler signs of a dangerous obsession. Claire filmed herself wandering through Daniel's apartment when he wasn't home, touching his belongings, whispering to the camera about how everything there belonged to them both. In another, she sat on his couch in the dark, her eyes fixed on the front door, waiting. The tone of the collection was unmistakable. It wasn't love. It was possession. These videos were no longer just odd glimpses into a couple's private life. They became critical evidence, reshaping the entire investigation. For the first time, police began to see Claire not as the grieving girlfriend she portrayed to the public, but as someone who had carefully crafted an image while hiding a dangerous fixation behind closed doors. Armed with the disturbing videos, investigators sought a warrant to search Claire Matthews' home. Until that point, her house had seemed like the last place to look. Neighbors often described it as spotless, cozy, and full of plants and family photos. But once detectives stepped inside with fresh eyes, the atmosphere felt different. The air was heavy, and the meticulous order seemed almost staged, as though every object had been placed to deflect suspicion. The search was slow and methodical. For hours, officers combed through drawers, closets, and cupboards without finding anything out of place. It wasn't until they turned their attention to the garage that the mask began to crumble. One detective noticed a floorboard near the wall that didn't sit quite flush. With some effort, they pried it open, revealing a small compartment hidden beneath the concrete base. Inside was a bundle wrapped in cloth. Unfolding it revealed Daniel's personal belongings, his watch, his wallet, and, most damning of all, a shirt stained with dried blood. Forensic testing later confirmed that the blood matched Daniel's DNA. The items had been hidden deliberately, placed where no one was meant to discover them. The discovery left little doubt. Claire was not just a concerned girlfriend. She was central to Daniel's disappearance. With this evidence, investigators expanded the search to the wooded area near where Daniel's car had been abandoned. Over several days, officers scoured the ground, guided by cadaver dogs and careful digging. Finally, beneath a shallow grave in a remote part of the park, they uncovered human remains. Dental records confirmed the worst fear. It was Daniel. The case had shifted from a mystery to a tragedy, and all signs pointed back to the woman no one had suspected. The arrest of Claire Matthews sent shockwaves through the community. For years, she had been the picture of kindness and reliability. The nurse who stayed late to comfort patients, the neighbor who offered to water plants during vacations, the girlfriend who cried on television begging for her partner's safe return. The idea that she was capable of violence seemed unthinkable. Yet the evidence was undeniable, and the mask she had worn so convincingly was finally stripped away. In the courtroom, the videos taken from Daniel's phone became the centerpiece of the trial. Jurors watched as Claire appeared on screen, smiling with a knife in hand, speaking in calm tones about never letting him go. They saw the hidden recordings of Daniel looking uneasy, his discomfort growing as Claire filmed him without his knowledge. Every clip built a picture of obsession, control, and quiet menace. The effect on the jury was profound. What once looked like affectionate home videos now appeared as a chilling countdown to tragedy. Claire remained composed throughout the proceedings. She sat upright, showing little emotion, even when confronted with the belongings found under her garage floor or the photographs of the shallow grave. While others in the courtroom wept, she kept her expression blank, as though detached from the reality of what she had done. The verdict was swift. The jury found her guilty of murder, and the judge sentenced her to life in prison. Outside the courthouse, people struggled to reconcile the woman they thought they knew with the truth revealed inside. For many, the case became a haunting reminder that evil often hides behind the most ordinary faces. Nobody had suspected Claire Matthews, but the videos she left behind exposed the darkness she worked so hard to conceal.